Are you ready to level up even more? For this solution track session called Securely Open Your B2B Ecosystem While Maximizing Your Resiliency, you will experience a discussion on the growing complexity of business-to-business networks and the move to the cloud. Basic electronic data interchange is no longer enough. Axway's Scott Lewis, Vice President of Product and Solution Marketing, and J.B. Benz, Director of Product Management, will talk with one of our customers on how they've driven growth and stayed ahead of the competition. Welcome, Scott and J.B. We're looking forward to learning more in your session.
Thank you, Deborah. Welcome to our session, Securely Open Your B2B Ecosystem While Maximizing Resiliency. I'm your host, Scott Lewis, and I'm pleased to kick off our session today with our guest, Scott Marshall, the Director of Application Delivery Services at AmerisourceBergen, who is going to inform us how they are using and evolving EDI to drive AmerisourceBergen's business. Afterwards, we will hear from J.B. Benz, Axway's Product Line Director for B2B, who will provide insight into the latest new capabilities and the roadmap for Axway's B2B integration product. Welcome to Axway Summit, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Happy to be here.
Before we get started, can you give us a quick overview on the background of AmerisourceBergen and how EDI plays a role in the business?
Sure. AmerisourceBergen, we operate one of the largest healthcare supply chains and partner with many global manufacturers, providers, and pharmacies to focus on delivering life-saving products to some of the country's largest healthcare providers and retailers. We're really focused and work hard on improving patient outcomes and creating healthier futures for human and animal health needs. We have over 150 offices worldwide and over 22,000 employees. And with that, we ship over 4 million products every single day. One thing we're really excited about also is that in January, AmerisourceBergen announced a strategic agreement in which we plan to acquire the majority of Walgreens Boots Alliance Healthcare business. And that's going to allow us to expand their scope tremendously into the European distribution market. Much like lots of folks and what you hear in the news today, AmerisourceBergen is also part of the battle against the pandemic. And we're working closely with the CDC to manage vaccine distribution through our Good Neighbor Pharmacy and Elevate provider networks. We're also helping with the remdesivir distribution. And one of our business units in Amera Strategies is working closely with the Canadian government and support the distribution of all the COVID vaccines all throughout Canada. Everything I just described and all that we do, electronic data interchange plays a major role in our 180 plus billion of annual processing revenue. And it's vital for our business to business and business to consumer interactions. With that EDI platform, we rely heavily on Axway B2B Integrator as our file gateway, and it's a significant component of our whole EDI landscape.
Wow, it's really great to hear how EDI plays a significant role in helping with the pandemic at AmerisourceBergen. So if we go back in time, though, a few years prior to your current environment, can you shed some light on the business challenges that you were facing?
Yeah, in our environment and earlier, we process over 220 million EDI transactions every year. And managing such a large volume of messages, it prevents quite a bit of technical and operational challenges. In the past, many of our business units relied and had separate EDI systems and file gateways that handled the trading partner communications. It worked for many years, but then we started realizing that it would keep getting more increasingly difficult to onboard and manage our trading partners as our businesses grew and as we acquired new businesses. With the multiple file gateways in use across the business, doing things such as investigating and resolving file delivery issues often created hours of complex work for the whole EDI team, which takes resources away from some of our more critical activities such as trading partner onboarding. And it took us longer to go to market for like a lot of our launches. It also limits AmerisourceBergen's ability to respond to a lot of growth opportunities. And on top of that, it posed a risk to the business. For example, if one of our partners sends us an EDI message and we don't acknowledge it within a certain service level agreement, we can receive a financial penalty or even lose orders to a competitor as they send their order to another partner who can respond within that SLA. So due to all these challenges and having disparate EDI systems, it was really hard to operationally monitor and locate transactions and complete research. And we realized we had to make improvements and make changes.
Great. I mean, it sounds like EDI is obviously a mission critical part of your business. Yeah, but how are you ensuring that your EDI system is always on?
So one of the things that we did was to help support all these long-term growth objectives and making improvements, we decided to re-architect our whole EDI platform to deliver a single enterprise-level integrated solution. So the scope of our project required us to rebuild the EDI platform completely from the ground up. And also we wanted to ensure that we had high performance and 24/7 uptime. So what we did was we delivered the solution in a highly available configuration, which allowed us to take advantage of geo-clustering across 2 data centers, which are in Texas and Virginia. And the new architecture allowed 2 completely independent clusters that used a peer network functionality to synchronize data across all of our clusters. And that allowed us to have an always-on, always available solution that partners can send messages to AmerisourceBergen, even if we had, for example, one of our data centers go offline, if we were down for scheduled patching, maintenance, or had any other technical issues. So that was a tremendous improvement on what we had. And partnering with Axway also helped contribute to why it was such a great success. We have worked closely with the Axway professional services team, and we have them actually as part of our team, and they're always very responsive, knowledgeable, and thorough. And on this whole re-platform engagement, it definitely was no exception. It is really helpful, and we found, to have product experts on the team who can answer all the needed technical questions. They can also track down and get other resources available when we need help. So by working side by side with Axway, what we did was, for the rollout, we launched it 1 transaction type at a time, which helped us reduce some of the risk and helped us phase it in and make sure that everything was working as expected. We also made our rollout internally focused, so we wanted to have minimal to no changes on the partner side themselves. So what we did was we made changes internally, and then we kept our existing connection as is, which made it much easier for our partners to work with us on it. And it made everything transparent, and it caused 0 disruption to our day-to-day operations, and it was definitely a huge success.
All right, great. You and I were talking, before the session, and I understand that you're taking advantage of an API-enabled approach to EDI to empower your business. Can you go a little bit more into that and let everyone know how that's helping your business?
Sure. We're using API capabilities that's offered with the Axway solution to deliver such things as, we'll call it, EDI metadata directly to the business teams. One use case or real world example is that we created a process flow on the outbound file side. So when users want to log into our portal and see information that a partner received and acknowledged a file, they're able to see that directly right from our Axway system. So our users have a portal that they can log in that allows them to view and search EDI transactions, but then through those API capabilities, we're able to supplement it with additional metadata information. So the user could then also see what I mentioned earlier about whether or not the file was received and connection details. So this really helps the users. It deflects calls away from having people go to our EDI team in a help desk manner. It gives them a lot of tremendous self-service capabilities and allows our team to focus on more important activities and mission critical type work. The users themselves, because they're able to leverage and get all this great information, they're really satisfied with our system, and they trust our system now that they have all this additional transparency and improved information with all the transactions that we show them on the portal. Another use case where we had tremendous success with the APIs has to do with actually setting up and onboarding partners in bulk. So we have, based on our business initiatives, we might have to do a few hundred partners at a time. And one of the things we're able to do is use an API to do things in bulk. So the traditional way of doing a partner onboarding might be you'd go into the Axway interface and you have to use the UI, user interface screen. But we designed some tools and technologies that allowed us to call the APIs and do them in bulk. So, for example, a single setup that might have taken 5 to 10 minutes in the past for a user, we're able to get it down to under a minute, do it in bulk. And then if you think of setting up 200 plus partners, it definitely saves us hours of time for our team just by leveraging the use of Axway APIs.
It's great to hear how you're taking advantage of APIs to really evolve the business and accelerate what you're doing with the EDI. Mark Twain once stated, the reports of my death are greatly exaggerated. I think what you've just told us, right, is we can say the same about EDI, right? It continues to be a mission critical piece of the business worldwide, but it is evolving. Can you tell us a little bit about how you see it evolving in the future to support new use cases in the coming years?
Yeah, in EDI, we always hear, I guess because it's a mature technology and has been around for a while, you often hear about newer technologies being disruptors and being the next generation of EDI or actually outright replacing EDI. Some examples of some newer things you hear discussed often are blockchain, and then also having systems maybe not use a traditional EDI document type and just having direct APIs as being things that might replace EDI. But just in our experience and just use of the products and what we see out in the marketplace, we see them more as complementary and they work alongside of each other. And if anything, they just provide more quote, quote, tools in our toolbox. So we have lots of different technical solutions for any situation that comes up. When we use Axway B2B Integrator for a file gateway, it actually positions us really well to support all these traditional methods, such as using like a secure FTP process. But then it also allows us to support some of the really newer technologies for example, like a JSON object, XML, or a direct API call, all within the same platform. So that's really important for business to business and business to consumer exchange and exchanging of data. And using a product like Axway B2B Integrator helps us keep up with these newer technologies that are launched and allow us to enable them very quickly. And also for this, in order to ourselves keep up, we actually invested and we're going through a version upgrade to the latest Axway version, and it's in progress right now. We're planning on going live this summer.
Great. Well, thanks, Scott, for a very informative insight into how AmerisourceBergen is succeeding with your EDI ecosystem today and how you're evolving it to support the business needs for AmerisourceBergen into the future.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the conference, and I look forward to doing this again, but hopefully in person in the future.
Great. And now I'd like to turn it over to JB Bentz.
All right. Thanks, Scott. That was great. Hi, folks. I'm JB Bentz, Director of the B2B product line here at Axway. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the B2BI product and where we're heading with it, and it fits pretty nicely with what Scott just discussed. So we're going to be covering what we like to call securely opening your B2B ecosystem while maximizing resiliency. In a bit, I'll go over what that actually means. First and foremost, we're going to start with an overview of the Axway B2B vision and strategy. Now, that strategy is developed from customer feedback that we've collected constantly over the last couple of years on the B2B side and across Axway, but especially on the B2B side, because that's my baby. We collaborate with customers very frequently. We have customer advisory boards, we have user groups, we have the community portal. And this is just an example of a word cloud that we created during our conversations with our customers on one of our recent user groups. And you'll see some themes here that pop up from the responses that we collected from customers. You see a lot of API talk and innovation, right? Customers want to be able to take those APIs and innovate with them across their business, building out creative solutions or tools that they can use inside their business. We see some really great ideas from some of our customers on things that they built on top of those APIs that already exist today. We also see a lot of items around security and multi-cluster or no downtime. So resiliency is a key target for our customers. Reducing cost is always something that's important as well. And then we see some other capabilities that people are seeing pop up in the market, like PEPL. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's a specific requirement that is becoming very important for a large subset of our customers. So we distilled all of that feedback and tried to come up with three major themes that we could build our strategy and our roadmap around. And what we ended up with is first theme being robust delivery and deployment, basically ensuring that we strengthen the foundation of that B2B B2BI and the foundation that people are running their supply chain on so that people can manage it as effectively as possible and march towards that goal of always being available, no downtime, zero downtime maintenance, right? These are all things that we hear from customers as part of their requirements. And then the second major pillar in our strategy is innovation via APIs. That's the most often requested topic from our customers. And then our third pillar in the strategy is this concept of moving to the cloud. And that is not only for us necessarily, and Axway being able to manage our customers' B2B for them on the Axway Managed Cloud, but it's also to build out the capabilities that make it that much easier to manage B2B on the cloud for our customers that want to manage it themselves on their own private or public cloud. So we'll go through a bit of some of the items that fall in these strategic themes that have been either very recent or near-term deliverables. We'll start with robust delivery and deployment. One of the major things that's driving how we deliver the B2B updates in the future is this new product lifecycle that we released. It's been very recent. B2BI adopted it in February of 2021 with our February release, but we're driving towards a one version approach where service packs are replaced by the notion of updates. And those updates will contain new capabilities and fixes together, but with the simplicity and upgrade process of service packs. So you don't have to worry about the extensive changes or testing that may have occurred with those major version changes in the past. Our strategy here will be to release those updates on a regular cadence. We're going to be sticking with the April and October release cadence that we've traditionally had. The February release was a bit of an exception, which we'll go over in a couple of slides. And then with that April-October cadence, we will then support those updates for 12 months after the next update becomes available. And new versions, like we're on B2BI version 2.6 now, those are the rare exception. We do not plan to have a new version at any point in the near future. But if there was any major changes, then you might see a B2BI 2.7. But for the purpose of bringing these releases to the market faster and making it easier for our customers to update to them, we are going to be trying to stick with this strategy of updates and delivering new capabilities via that mechanism in the future. So you'll see on the right, we have the nomenclature that you'll become accustomed to, like B2BI 2.6, 2021-2, that was the February release. And then moving forward, you'll see the April and the October release. That's going to be how this is structured moving forward. Pretty simple. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Now, one of the biggest things we delivered in this pillar of the strategy over the last couple of releases was this multi-cluster architecture. Now, everybody's probably seen one version of this or one review of this over the last couple of sessions or another, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit again because we do have some major effort being put towards this over the next couple of quarters. It's in the roadmap we have to extend the database support for this multi-cluster architecture. So just a reminder, multi-cluster is this capability to be able to run multiple processing clusters and manage them through a single configuration cluster. So you could have a series of connections to certain trading partners running through processing cluster A and another subset of your community running through processing cluster B. But it could be time to perform some maintenance or apply that new update to your B2BI and update to the latest release, the latest updated B2BI. Well, you can use the configuration cluster to pull all those connections that you were managing on cluster A. For that first subset of your trading partners, move them over to cluster B. It'll continue processing via that cluster without any impact to those partners. And you can take down cluster A, perform the maintenance, perform the service pack or the update to it, without any impact to the flows and the document transmissions. So it improves scalability. It obviously improves your availability, helps you reach your high availability targets. And in the past, this capability, multi-cluster, was limited in that it only supported the Oracle database. We have seen more and more customers saying they're trying to actually move away from Oracle as part of that cost-cutting theme that was mentioned in a lot of the customer feedback earlier. So we're going to be extending database support to include other databases so that customers have more options and are not forced to use the Oracle database in order to achieve this multi-cluster architecture. And in the end, this is all an attempt for our customers to drive their B2B, their supply chain foundation towards that always on target that everybody's marching towards. Another capability that we're offering, and this is for B2BI itself, not specifically for multi-cluster, is support for Postgres. So this is directly attached to that conversation about Oracle and the costs that Oracle brings to your organization. Many IT teams around the globe are basically asking their business to try to trim down those Oracle expenses, and Postgres is not only a cheaper alternative, but a very resilient and scalable option. So we are looking to add this capability, support for Postgres, to B2BI itself in our next release, to giving customers a cost-efficient option to run their B2BI infrastructure on. That will not include multi-cluster support initially. We'll give it a little bit of burn-in for B2BI itself, and then we'll look to extend multi-cluster support for Postgres specifically in the future, later down the road. All right, so, and then we'll dig into the next pillar of the strategy for the B2B portfolio, and that is innovation through APIs. What that entails, with our recent February release, and this was basically the sole purpose for that February release, was to give people a chance to test out this new capability, this JSON business document support. Basically, the ability to natively transform JSON documents within B2BI. We've seen a lot of demand for this over the last couple of years. We've seen customers create workarounds in order to handle JSON requirements, even going so far as to acquire Axway's API management solution, which works just fine. It works great for the purposes, except for transformation should really be managed in a single place. It gets to be a little cumbersome if you're building half of your maps for EDI in B2BI, and then half of your maps, if they were getting transformed to JSON in API management. It gets cumbersome, and it would be hard to maintain over the years. You'd have to have that expertise for decades, no understanding where each of the different portions of your mapping challenges were being solved. So now, with JSON support built natively into the B2BI portfolio, that'll simplify things, both for the development and the maintenance of those flows in the future. This is intended to make it much easier for our customers to do business with their partners that aren't EDI enabled. We're seeing newer requirements these days where people may be adding new avenues of integration in their business, new document channels or document streams that might not have even been digitized in the past. And as a default, they're leaning more towards API enabled integrations. So we are, with this new capability, customers are able to keep up with that ever-growing complexity. Another big component of our innovation through API strategic theme is something we call API V2. B2BI is already noted as having an extensive API library. You can do nearly everything in B2BI that you could do through the UI via APIs. Even Gartner mentioned it as a positive for B2BI in one of the recent reports, I believe it was last summer, that B2BI was extremely programmable via APIs and built a strong foundation for customers to innovate on top of. However, we've acknowledged that those APIs that do exist tend to be very granular. That first stab that we took at building out that API framework was very, it could be cumbersome in developing your solutions because you could have a string of 20, 30, sometimes even 40 calls to accomplish what might be a simple task. So API V2 is our effort to refactor that, refactor those APIs into use case driven solutions so that if you're trying to accomplish something, there could be a single API call to manage it, like configuration promotion is our initial focus. So if you're trying to pull down the metadata profiles from a single system that you might then upload into another environment, we want to make that as easy as possible. And initial testing of this new API V2 as we're rolling it out is that your average task tend to be at least 10 times more efficient in building out those capabilities. Yeah, once it's built, the efficiency gains are probably minimal. The amount of time it takes for those calls to actually be executed, it wasn't really that bad in the past, but it's the building of that solution and the build out of that actual innovation that was so cumbersome with API v1 that we're hoping to reduce the barrier of entry for our customers so that more and more customers can derive the value from this API foundation that we're already so proud of. Now, our third pillar of the main strategy is this move to cloud theme that we talked about earlier. And as I said, Axway has an extremely flexible portfolio of delivery models. When I say that we're driving more and more business to the cloud, it does not mean that it has to be the Axway managed cloud. It also is intended to help customers manage their own cloud environments, whether they're trying to stand up their own B2BI environment on AWS or Azure. Either way, customers they have full portability and reversibility from a fully delegated service model where Axway is offering fully managed B2B services, where we are actually building maps and managing the connectivity with your trading partners, your customers, or whether we're just doing private SaaS, which we call platform management, where we're hosting the application for you and updating the application and the architecture when the need arises, but you still manage the configurations and the maps and the connectivity. We call that platform management. And then on the fully customer managed side, like I said, still opt to run and maintain the software, and these same capabilities that we focus on for our cloud deliveries becomes beneficial to you in your environment that you're managing. Now, we talked a little bit about our multi-cluster capability not too long ago. That was intended for customers running their own architecture, running their own environments. We have in turn taken that same capability and built it in as an option to our Axway managed cloud offerings. And we've built it as near zero downtime maintenance, basically saying that as we are using our own multi-cluster capabilities to service our cloud customers, we are now able to support extremely high availability requirements. And we can even use this same capability to cover large scalability concerns where customers may have extremely large volumes or even spikes that they need to manage. Multi-cluster capabilities on the back end as part of this near zero downtime maintenance option could become extremely valuable to support those types of requirements. So it's an optional service. It can be added to any of our managed cloud delivery models, and it's an attempt to offer best-in-class service levels via our managed cloud using all the multi-cluster capabilities that we've built up into B2BI. And we've also added a full set of cloud security services on our managed cloud offerings, antivirus service being one of them, basically offering the ability to have optional antivirus scanning added to your managed cloud service. It's based on the Internet Content Adaptation Protocol. And the scanning is actually offloaded to an ICAP server, freeing up the solution-specific servers to perform their tasks. It doesn't drag down the performance in any way, but it is going to give you that extra assurance that everything that passes through the environment is scanned, and you're not going to be exposed to any viruses or malware in the process. There are other services on our cloud security services menu. I just wanted to highlight this one as a specific example, but others include vulnerability scanning or CVSS scoring, security situational awareness reporting, or threat detection. And I encourage you to reach out to your Axway customer success manager or account representative, and they can walk you through those options and how they might apply to your managed cloud solution. In the end, you have an offering through the Axway Managed Cloud that ensures that we can meet even the most stringent of security requirements that customers may bring us. So that's a bit of the rear view mirror or recent deliverables. But what's next? So with the roadmap and the upcoming deliverables that we have on the plan for B2BI, I mentioned earlier multi-cluster extensions. So we're going to be aiming to add at least as a start, support for Microsoft SQL Server and MySQL. That should enable a large subset of our customers beyond those that use Oracle already to also support multi-cluster extensions. Another database that would obviously be a follower to these would be Postgres. We mentioned we were adding Postgres support to B2BI itself. We will then have to add Postgres support to multi-cluster as another extension of that. We're also going to be driving towards containerization for B2BI. And we will be building out more e-invoicing and B2G, business to government capabilities. So for those of you that are in Europe, particularly, but also in South America and those that have international business, this can be a key concern. Lots of countries around the world, specific regions, have very complex e-invoicing and B2G requirements that arise. And we've been building out these e-invoicing solutions and also PEPL support so that our customers can solve all of those compliance requirements all through a single vendor and not have to go and farm those out across a cornucopia of solutions. It tends to be hard to manage, very complex to manage, disparate vendors. So we're trying to align that all under the Axway portfolio. So we've started with a couple of countries. We're going to be extending that throughout 2021. And then another big thing for us is we're extending the OFTP2 support within B2BI. There are some enhancements that we've been planning for some time to just make sure that that B2BI is equipped to handle even the most advanced of OFTP2 requirements, which some of you may know is very important in specific industries, especially automotive. Then in the innovation via APIs column, we are going to be continuing working on that API v2 project that I mentioned earlier. That is a long-term objective. It's going to take multiple releases. Like I said, we're starting on configuration promotion as an initial priority. So that will be something that we will likely be working on for multiple releases moving forward. But in the end, it will make life so much easier for B2BI customers looking to innovate on top of that API framework. Then the other big thing that we want to create in the near future is this concept of a REST API connector, basically putting all the pieces together with our HTTPS support, our JSON transformation capabilities, and giving customers an easy to use capability where they can connect directly to their customers or offer their trading partners a quick and easy way to connect to them via this REST API connector. So keep your eyes out for that one. It should be coming here shortly. And then in the third column, in this move to cloud, we're going to be focusing heavily on qualifying our platform for Microsoft Azure support. So we have customers who run B2BI in their cloud on Microsoft Azure, but we internally, we manage all of our managed cloud environments on AWS. That's just how we started. That's just where we have lived over the last few years. But we're seeing more and more questions arise from customers who want flexibility to have us manage their B2B environment, but have it live in Azure for whatever reason. Maybe they just are arch enemies with Amazon and they just don't want their business on Amazon. And that's fine. So we have a big effort in the coming quarters to fully qualify B2BI and build out our standard architecture for an Azure environment. So that's something we look forward to being able to offer later this year. And then, like I said, containerization is a hot topic, and we want to be able to offer that to our customers. It can help us with how we run those environments in our cloud, but it could also be extremely helpful for our customers and helping them manage their B2BI environments more efficiently. So we're pretty early on in that process at this point, but we're excited to be able to do something later this year along those lines. And just a refresher, many of you probably already know this, but we do publish our roadmap. It is publicly available on our Axway community portal. Link is at the bottom of the slide. I hope all of you have been out to that community. That's a great place for us to collaborate, ask questions, talk to support, talk to product management. But specifically, if you go to the B2BI section and click on the roadmap, you can see a view that is very close to live. If something has slipped, it is usually reflected very quickly. If something gets pulled forward, it's usually reflected very quickly in this view of the roadmap. So you can always keep your finger on the pulse of what's coming and when. And that's all I had today, folks. Thank you for attending. I hope you found it informative. I hope you enjoyed the session. We have a little bit of time left, so if you have any questions or comments, feel free to chime in via the chat option. We will be happy to try to answer those with whatever time we have left. And back to you, Deborah.